right, guys, welcome back. Here we are with another edition of Native MMA Radio. Here we are to break down what was a very exciting fight, for at least for me. Waleed didn't think so. UFC 251 just culminated literally minutes ago. Waleed and I jumped right here because we felt like we needed to discuss everything that happened tonight right now. My biggest takeaway from the night, though, is Max Holloway. Man, I really feel like he won that fight 3-2. We'll get into it a little more when we talk about his fight exactly. But for you, what was the biggest takeaway?
Uh, I don't know. I feel like I would go with Max also in one way. In another way, I would go with maybe the main event not being especially what I thought it will be. But we'll get into that.
Yes, for sure. Have they announced any of the fight of the night yet?
Not sure. Not sure. I
Yeah,
think that
I don't think we're literally doing this before I think even the press conference has started.
yeah.
So here we go. Let's just jump right in this. Now, the very first fight of the night, Davy Grant had a very beautiful knockout in the second round of Martin Day. Davy Grant actually got dropped in the first round by Martin Day, and he told Dana at the end of the fight, "My jaw is broken." He broke my jaw in the first round. So
Crazy.
obviously, Martin Day threw a lot of power into that left hand. He dropped Davy Grant, but it wasn't enough to put him down and out. Davy Grant, came back in the second round with a huge knockout, and he literally put Martin Day to sleep. It was a
Yeah.
nasty knockout, probably one of the more dirtier ones of the night.
It was in the third one, right? Not the second.
Yes.
Yeah, so what's crazy is that, this fight was very exciting for a first early prelims fight. Like really it gave the tone for the whole night because
Yes.
you start the fight with that, with a broken jaw and a comeback, nothing better than that. The David Grant, like I think he have a huge heart, to keep on and fighting with a broken jaw. Like this is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you've seen people in the past, like, Ronda Rousey when she broke her jaw. It's hard to breathe. You can't
Yeah.
close your mouth. You're just breathing, with your mouth wide open. It's very, very hard to, just even to continue to fight, let alone to get the huge knockout that he was able to surpass. I mean, what a great performance by David Grant. I could see a performance of the night going to this young man.
Yeah, me too. Really, really, brother, me too.
Now, another very good fight. Carl Rosa defeated Vanessa Mello by unanimous decision. Now, Rosa was really just a bigger fighter, I felt like, and you could tell that even in the early
Yeah,
rounds. And the one thing that really interested me is it seemed like Vanessa Mello could not get off at all. She could not get on the inside of
yeah,
Rosa and strike at all. And Rosa, she was just very crisp with her striking. She was able to, obviously, like I was saying, stay to the outside and use that reach advantage that she had. And she used it for 3 rounds, and she pulled out a pretty much 30-26 around the board unanimous decision
yeah.
victory.
Don't know if Vanessa, it was an off night for her, or maybe it's just that Rosa was better than her in every aspect. Like she took her
Unfortunately,
down.
I,
Yeah,
I think Vanessa Mello has just ran into the best of the best. Yeah, and
yeah,
ever since she's been in the UFC. So unfortunately, she's now, I believe, 3-0 in or 0-3 in the UFC.
yeah.
Maybe the UFC keeps her around because of the situation with the coronavirus, but I'm not too sure. I would love to see her again. I think she belongs more at 25.
Yeah, maybe Rosa is definitely a fighter that people should be looking up to,
Yeah,
and
she is
yeah,
a big girl.
yeah, she is, she is.
Now, Rulian Peva defeated Zulias Zumagov. Now, I want to ask you, who did you have winning that fight?
I actually had Zalgas Zumagov actually winning this fight. I
Yeah,
thought
a
that, yeah,
lot of people said that, and I realized that once I started, looking through the chats. A lot of people and a lot of like high level MMA media people were saying that they
yeah.
thought Zumagov won. Rulian Piavi obviously got the unanimous decision victory. But for you, what do you think was the real outcome of the fight, and why do you think it was that?
Well, in one way, I think that it was a some sort even matchup, But when you look at the stats, like you have more significant strikes, and he took him down. But sometimes I know that those are just numbers. That's not
Yes.
the actual fight. But even when in the actual fight, I think that he did a little bit more, like he did enough to win the decision.
Now, obviously, Marcin Tybura was supposed to fight a young man who I was really high on. That did
Yeah.
not happen. He ended up fighting Max Grissom. Now, he won the fight by unanimous decision victory 30-27, 30-27, 30-26. Obviously, Tybura just he used his octagon experience to just pretty much pull out this victory, if you ask me.
Yeah, exactly. I think that because sometimes it's dangerous when you're fighting someone on short notice, but in
Yes.
this case, I think that Marcin Tybura like actually
He
really
played it
handled pretty
safe
well the
and he,
situation.
he did everything that he should have done.
Exactly. Like he proved that he's more experienced, even though the Maxim Grishin like have 40 fights, so that's not
Yes.
his, yeah.
But
So
still, you
he's
got to
yeah,
understand that he focused on the takedowns. He didn't
yeah,
land every single one of them, but he was 3 of 7. Ty Burr, this is, and he landed 24 significant strikes. I mean, not much more significant strikes than Maxim Grissom, but he knew that he was just going to take him down, utilize that time to win the judge's opinion, and just get this decision and get out of there.
yeah. Exactly. Perfect game plan.
Exactly. I mean, what's the point of getting hurt when you know, especially right now, guys are getting called every other day?
Exactly.
Now, to start off the prelim portion, lightweight bout between Leonardo Santos and Roman Bogdov. Ended in a unanimous decision victory for Leonardo Santos. It was 29-26, 29-26, 29-26. For you, what was the biggest takeaway of that fight?
Well, for me, I would say maybe Leonardo Santos takedown defense because
Yes.
there was a tons of takedown attempt from Roman Bogarov, but
I was going to say the same exact thing.
yeah, he
You
maybe got
know,
just one. So
10 takedown stuffs is what Santos, and I think you and I have talked about this plenty of times. I believe that is an underrated stat in the game. I
yeah,
think that there should be a little more emphasis on stuff takedowns because we talk about all the time, the guy got 3 takedowns. Well, how many did he stuff? You know what I mean? If you understand,
yeah,
Roman got 1 takedown. He attempted 11. Now,
yeah.
Santos only attempted 2, but he got one of the 2. Significant strikes were 66 out of 50. I thought Santos really put on a better performance than Roman Bogdanov. I just fucked up his last name, but
Yeah,
forget
Roman Bogarov, yeah.
it. But listen, I want to see Bogdanov back in here, and I think that he's got a bright future. This lightweight division is just stacked, man. Everyone
Yeah.
in this lightweight division, I feel like, is just it's dirty left and right. And the top 15 is just as good as 15-30 almost sometimes.
Like this is the type of fight where you actually see that because people are criticizing like the Kamaru and Khabib like taking down. It's not easy to do it. If it was easy, like Bogarov would have like 10 takedowns and he would have won this fight. It's not easy to take every time the fight to the ground. Now in the main event, I have other things to say, but let's keep it for the main event.
No, for sure. But you, like you said, you got to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
And some of those guys who are able to get those takedowns, I mean, all power to them because it's not easy to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. Now, Marquand Marcani only needed 1 takedown to finish the fight, and that was 3 minutes and 15 seconds into the first round against Danny Henry. He only threw a total of 2 strikes, but he finished it with a very slick anaconda choke on the
Yeah.
ground. And he really showed that he is a well-rounded featherweight.
Yeah, exactly. Mahwan is, like you said, very well-rounded fighter because he doesn't usually always get a finish by submission, but in this
No.
case, that was a
And
slick
it was almost
submission.
a flawless victory. I mean,
Yeah,
really, he didn't even have to break a sweat. He threw 2 punches. He took the guy down and submitted him. He
yeah.
was out there for two. He was out there for 3 minutes.
I think that the submission of the night doesn't exist anymore, right? I believe
No,
that
at
this.
this point, I believe it is just performance of the nights, and I don't
Okay.
even think that. I really think that this one is better than the Amanda Ribas one for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Maybe. I don't know. I'm mixed up.
Now, we'll get into that in a little bit. Muslim Salikov defeated Eliseo Salik dos Santos by split decision 30-27, 29-28, and 28-29. Now,
Yeah.
let me just read you guys the numbers. There was 4 takedowns attempted by Eliseo. None of them landed. 3 takedowns by Muslim, none of them landed. Now, the significant strikes were fairly close. There was 40 total strikes by Muslim, 40 significant strikes. And then obviously the same, Isley, 46 total strikes, 46 significant strikes. These guys were literally throwing with ill intent the entire time, and that's all they had behind all that. There was no filling out process. It was all we're throwing blow for blow.
I think it's kind of because they were throwing blow for blow, but I don't know. I felt like none really tried to do that extra punch, that extra thing that maybe would give you more.
Yeah, listen, it definitely wasn't this next matchup we're going to talk about for sure.
Yeah, but it was it was an interesting matchup. I think me and you were talking about this one and we thought it would be bigger. It wasn't. I think that both fighters respected enough the other one.
And I think maybe that was a little bit with the hype behind it, maybe why it died out a little bit.
Exactly. But I would say congratulations to Muslim Salikhov. I think that he did enough to win this fight, even though the number pretty much showed that Eliseo won.
Eliseo dos Santos is not an easy go in that welterweight division. So it's a really good name and win for Muslim Salikhov, especially when he wants to propel himself into that top 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, one man who I was, I put the spotlight on in our last episode, Jiří Procházka. Yeah. Now, he went in there and defeated Volkan Oezdemir in the second round, 49 seconds into it by a vicious KO. Listen, he had his hands down the entire time. He got hit with some big shots by Volkan Oezdemir. I, for a second, thought that Volkan Oezdemir was going to put him out. He played around almost way too much in that fight. Even saying all that stuff that's almost negative towards his performance, he still pulled out a tremendous knockout in the second round and made it look kind of easy.
Yeah. Actually, Jiří really looked he looked very interesting against Volkan because I think that Jiří actually may be a big problem in this division.
Yes, for sure,
really
100%.
Think that. Nobody do that.
You step into the UFC and you get the number 7 guy. Yeah. I mean, obviously the UFC has high hopes for you. They said that they were talking about signing him a couple years ago, and he stepped back and said, maybe I'm not ready right now. And you don't see a lot of guys doing that. You see a lot of guys rushing to the spotlight, trying to get there, and then you see a lot of them flounder out, Sage Northcutt a lot. But maybe it was almost a smarter decision for him to stay in Rizin, grow his name and his fighting experience a little more, MMA fighting experience, that is.
Yeah.
And then see where he could take it when he felt like he was a little more prepared. Maybe this is the best thing for his career, and maybe the sky is the limits for this young man. I would love to see him against that Rakic winner.
Yeah, I agree with you. And just to point out something, I think Volkan, he's the one who said it on Instagram. It was his first knockout loss. Nobody do that to Volkan Oezdemir.
Nobody's knocked him out like that. And it was dirty.
Exactly.
33 total strikes, 33 significant strikes. Obviously, everything that Jiří threw was just with ill intent behind it.
Yeah. He's very powerful and, he's lethal.
And that was a hell of a way to end the prelims. I thought it was one of the better prelim fights of the night, and I definitely think that Jiří, with his performance, could easily win a performance of the night bonus. But I think there's so many great performances in the main card that it might get overlooked.
Yeah, guess we will see. There was some very interesting matchup in the main card. I agree with you.
For sure. In the women's flyweight division, Amanda Ribas defeated Paige Van Zandt by a very slick armbar, 2 minutes and 21 seconds into the fight. I'm going to ask you this question. We talked about it last time. Do you think Paige Van Zandt is done in the UFC?
After this fight, I really think so. I really think that it was the last time. Ribas actually really kind of amazed me because she reminded me of that Ronda Rousey type of, because that hip toss then going straight for the armbar, that was when Ronda Rousey was killing all the division. So it was pretty interesting. I see the scales. That armbar was nasty. But
she has went in there and taken out two big hype trains. I'm talking about Amanda Ribas, that is. She's now taking out Paige Van Zandt, and she already beat Mackenzie Dern. Amanda Ribas could be a real problem in the women's strawweight division. She is a strawweight. They did move this fight to flyweight because of Paige Van Zandt, but oh, hold on. I just got all the bonuses in right now. Performance of the night went to Jiri Prokovov and Davy Grant. Fight of the night is the next fight that we're actually going to talk about, Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade. So, like I said, guys, we're doing this as the press conference is going. So, you know, we're getting this as up to the minute as possible. Amanda Ribas, though, great performance by her. What would you like to see next for her in the women's strawweight division? I think she could go against someone like a Courtney Casey.
I agree with you. I think that she should be fighting someone in the top. For Paige, just to close like the subject on Paige. Yeah, I agree with. I think that you're the one who said that it's going to be her last fight in the UFC, and I couldn't agree more after this fight.
I truly believe that she's going to be in Bellator next. I think that she is a bigger draw for Bellator than she is for the UFC.
I think maybe she even get retire or whatever. That's another possibility.
That's another possibility. We also even talked about, you know, she's a cute girl. The WWE, she's very athletic. She could make a killing over there.
So many things she can do. Yes, so many things she can do.
We talked about this fight. Obviously, it was fight of the night. Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade. Give me 2 more rounds every time they fight. Please. I want it to be 5 rounds. Okay, what a great fight. I talked to you. I had Professor Rick Lucero watching the fights with me, and even he said it himself. If there was 2 more rounds in that fight, Jessica Andrade wins the fight.
I think so. Also, I think that Rose had the perfect game plan for a 3-round fight because in the first and for the first and the second,
she was on lights out.
Yeah,
her boxing was crisp, and it seemed like she was hitting Jessica before Jessica could even think about getting off.
Yeah, listen, and what I really like. That's why I'm a huge fan of Rose Namajunas. When you see her striking, her head movement, it's next level, because sometimes in this female division you get like some sloppy punches, you know. You don't see that with Rose Namajunas. With Rose Namajunas, when you see a strike, when you see a punch, it's a clean one. It's not
for sure.
Yeah, she's very precise and very technical. So it was an amazing performance by her. And Jessica Andrade, yeah, I agree with you. If it went to 5 round, who knows?
I really feel like with that, you know, the 3rd round, you could tell Jessica was really closing the distance and really she figured out Rose's, timing and speed by that time. Significant strikes, 71 for Andrade, 82 for Rose Namajunas. And like I said, a bulk of those were in the first 2 rounds. And you got to understand, Rose Namajunas had a tremendous output in those first 2 rounds, especially for somebody who had such a long layoff. You guys got to remember, she hasn't fought since she fought Jessica Andrade the last time. So I think ring rust had no factor into it. I think that she is ready for Weili Zhang. I don't know if she wins that fight, but I think it's a great matchup.
Yeah, she may. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that she should be the one fighting for the belt right now. Nobody deserves it more than her. But let me ask you something. We said like just right now that maybe if it went to the 5th round, or Jessica Andrade may had the W. But do you think that maybe Jessica Andrade gave it her all like in the 3rd round because it was the last one and she knew that she was losing the second?
She had to fucking get that finish. She knew.
Yeah.
She knew what it was. I think she realized she had to get that finish, and she just had to go all out.
No, okay.
But she caught Rose. She caught Rose a couple times there.
She did.
Like there was a plenty of opportunities where I feel like if that was going to go 1 more round, she would have probably knocked out Rose Namajunas.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Like she had Rose hurt. Rose going into that 3rd round barely had any blemishes on her. Coming out of that 3rd round, she has a huge hematoma underneath her eye. I mean, her cheeks all busted up. You got Jessica Andrade put it on Rose Namajunas in that last round. It was just too little, too late.
Yeah, it was too late. She needed to be more aggressive during those 2 first rounds.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Now, someone who did not lack any aggression, Petr Yan, went into this bantamweight title fight with one game plan, and that was just destroy. And that's exactly what he did to Jose Aldo throughout 5 rounds, finishing in the 5th round with a beautiful TKO 3 minutes and 42 seconds into that round. He only had 1 knockout throughout the entire fight, but he landed a total of 258 strikes and 194 significant strikes. Let's put that into perspective real quick. That's twice as many significant strikes as Jose Aldo landed.
Yeah, Peter Yan was too much for Jose Aldo. I thought that maybe it was the fan inside me that thought that maybe Jose Aldo will, but there's no fairy tales in this sport. At this point, I don't know why I'm about those fairy tales and those happy endings in this sport. There's no type
Yes.
of this shit. No happy ending. It's just devastating. You see your like favorite fighters just getting destroyed at the end of their career. I'm sick of seeing Peter Yan actually destroying old legends like
Right.
Uriah Faber, Jose Aldo. I think that's right now that he's a champion, I think that the best match for him are what's next for him. The
Aljamain
real
Sterling. Yeah, I really and then honestly, I feel like if you get past Aljamain Sterling, you might be able to entice Henry Cejudo to come back.
I agree with you. The best matchup are what's next for Peter Yan.
And then you got to understand too, like we've talked about it a couple times in the show. TJ's coming back, and if you guys think that TJ's just been chilling, you're absolutely wrong. He's got something to prove to himself, and I think that we're going to see probably the best version of TJ Dillashaw we've ever seen.
TJ is a very sore loser, and he really bounced back very well from the losses. We saw that when he lost to Dominic Cruz in that decision. I think that when TJ is going to come back, he's going to win in a huge fashion, like in a first round knockout, knowing how competitive he is.
100%. I cannot agree with you any less. Petr Yan, let's put this into perspective, had more total strikes than Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway combined. Crazy. I mean, it's just the output that he had. Who do you think wins between him and Aljo?
Well, Aljamain Sterling is actually right now starting posting pictures about Peter Yan on Instagram. And if you see the last one, it's like the porn picture of black, and you have like he put his face on all the black people, and like he put it like on the small like porn star, he put the Peter Yan's face, which is crazy, disrespectful, but funny as hell. So you know what, that's a very interesting matchup. I think that Aljamain Sterling, if he can take this fight to the ground, then hey, in 2020, like right now in this day and age, the grapplers are very successful. So yeah, we go with Aljo.
Yeah, and really, without the crowd there, without them booing, I mean, it just really plays to the grapplers to just be able to do their thing even more. If you guys don't think that when you're booing in that arena that it's not affecting them, they're not like, oh fuck, maybe I should try a little harder. It really is sometimes. Some guys don't give a fuck, and they're just gonna grind this dude out and get that paycheck and go on. But some guys, it really matters to them. It really does. But it'll be interesting to see what's next for these two gentlemen. I really think that Petr Yan, Aljamain Sterling is obviously what's next. If Aljo gets bounced again, I think we're gonna have some real problems. Jose Aldo, I don't think he's done. I think there's some fight left in him. He is not that old. Every time I look at his age, I'm like, dude, he's 2 years older than I am. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but in the MMA world, I think the sooner you start your career, the sooner you end it. Like those DC, like only maybe Anderson Silva is going to his 40s and still being in top level, even though he's not really fighting top fighters right now or whatever. But yeah, like those DC, Yoel Romero, who's fighting like when they are 40, 41, they didn't start early.
No, not by no means. No. Now, let's get to the most controversial fight of the night, in my opinion. Alexander Volkanovski successfully defends his featherweight title against Max Holloway in a split decision, 47-48, 48-47, 48-47, leading in favor of the Australian Volkanovski. I had it going towards Max. Now, when I look at these numbers and I look at, obviously, all the stats, it favors Volkanovski. Had you told me when I was watching this fight that these were what the stats look like at the end of the day, that it was 139 total strikes for Volkanovski, only 111 for Max, 137 significant strikes, only for 102 for Holloway, 3 takedowns to Holloway's none, I would have, been like, hell yeah, Volkanovski. Well, I was
Yeah,
watching that fight though. I gave it the first 3 rounds to Max Holloway, and when I've ever known anything about MMA, you win 3 rounds, you win the fight.
yeah, I agree with you. Which is crazy because usually Holloway is like those the Diaz brothers that he goes stronger by the final rounds. Like I think Holloway is the type of fighter who wins the fourth and fifth round. But you know what? Volkanovski is a tremendous fighter. He won the fourth and the fifth, So maybe the third or the second are debatable. I
Yes.
if
No,
you
the second is not debatable.
Yeah,
Max Holloway definitely won that round.
yeah, I agree
He
with you.
dropped him in that round with an uppercut,
Exactly. Yeah.
and then he dropped him with a leg kick at the end of the first.
Yeah. So what I want, like if we talked actually directly after the fight, I would say no, Holloway got robbed. But now that I let it a little bit rest, I'm not really mad with the decision. I think that maybe it is what it is.
Yeah,
It could have gone either way.
we've seen this is a trend lately. This is a trend that these judges have been putting more emphasis on the fourth and fifth round. Really, if you win those 2 championship rounds, it will null and void what happened the first 3 rounds. And we've seen that with John Jones and Reyes, but obviously I thought Reyes won 4 of the one. But I really thought Holloway won the first 3. Volkanovski won the last 2. And Volkanovski, wasn't necessarily dominant in the last 2. I mean, it was still a back and forth fight. Max, I would love to see the numbers break down by round. Again, I don't have them in front of me, but I would love to see those. And obviously, I could make a little more comments on it. But I do feel like Max Holloway did win that fight, especially initially when I seen it. I'm not mad at the decision. It's not the biggest robbery in the world by no means. Like I said, to beat the champ, you have to beat the champ. I know a lot of people hate that adage, but it's true. You have to beat that man to take his title.
Yeah, but I agree with you. This wasn't the biggest robbery, but I think both of us feel like Holloway actually won. But it is what it is.
Hey, listen, I was betting on this 1K, and I had Volkanovski, so I wasn't that mad at the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, listen, I think you got robbed, but it's all good. I still won my bet.
Yeah.
Now, the main event of the evening, obviously, Jorge Masvidal taking the fight on 6 days' notice. Kamaru Usman just put a clinic on him, I would say. 263 total strikes for Usman to 88 for Masvidal. Yeah, 94 significant strikes out of 66 significant strikes and the 5 takedowns.
Yeah, what can I say about this fight? You know what? I will let you go first because I feel like I don't know what I actually to say. Like
I am a huge Kamaru Usman fan.
Yeah.
I don't think that he should run it back with Jorge Masvidal right now. Not with Masvidal on a full camp. I think Masvidal on the full camp, that's a little different of a fight. I think maybe Masvidal is able to keep it standing a little longer. Masvidal is for sure a definite threat to Kamaru Usman's throne. In my opinion, I still think Usman is the best welterweight right now in the world. But Masvidal showed that obviously, all it takes is one punch from him. And he's got that type of power at 170 pounds to put somebody's lights out with a very slick combination. And he has the ability to burst and has that burst of energy that he's able to just unload on people. The only problem was he cut 20 pounds in 6 days and just didn't have it after 2 or 3 rounds.
Yeah, but I didn't feel like he was getting tired, but I didn't feel like he was really gassed out,
Yes.
Because when you see, he was still defending takedowns. Like, Kamaru got
very
5
good
takedowns.
defending. Yeah, but he defended what?
11.
Yes.
No, who does that to Usman? Who defends 11 takedown to Usman?
Not a whole lot of people.
Yeah, even Tyron Woodley didn't do it. But the negative part of this fight, if I can say negative, but it's part of the sports, was the clinch. Too long, too much inactivity in the clinch.
But he was staying active. How do you call inactivity when you're stopping? A foot stomp is staying active. It's still being active. Hey, it's a move. We're using all parts of our body. And listen, if I can try to immobilize you even the slightest bit, I'm going to take that, especially with somebody who only needs one burst of explosion like Jose Masvidal.
I agree with you. Well, Kamaru Usman had the perfect game plan, and I think that he even him got a little bit surprised by maybe Masvidal's takedown defense and clinch defense, because I think that maybe he thought it would be easier, but it wasn't. He got some sick takedowns, you know. He got
Yes.
some pretty, very pretty single leg, you know, because Kamaru is a beast when it comes to grappling. But full camp Masvidal with a true game plan and true cardio, that's not that's maybe the worst matchup for Usman after watching this fight.
Yeah, I mean, some of those 170 pounders might be licking their chops, thinking, hey, maybe there is an opening there. Maybe he is not as great as everyone thinks he is, and it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question right now? Because this is like it becomes an issue in the MMA world. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing or a good thing. It's just that this type of fighter, that Kamaru and Khabib, especially those two, they're unbeatable. You can't beat them. What do you think will it take for them to lose?
I don't know. I honestly don't know, right? Especially I mean, they don't even need to be technically the most solidly sound, well-rounded fighters, but when you're that good at one thing
Yeah.
and you're able to just capitalize on that, I mean, you see how imposing Kumaru is in that clinch game. It's really hard, and it takes a lot of energy to get him off of you. And you see what Khabib Nurmagomedov is able to do. That dude is just tremendously good at what he does. And you see it happen over and over again. You know what's going to happen, and he still does it to you no problem. And that's what I think is the most interesting thing of it all.
I think for me, I think that this is when the big coaches, this is where they need to shine, because this is like a very difficult puzzle to solve, and this is where big coaches, like geniuses of this sports, need to come out, and they need to find the game plan, the something, because you're not going to win Kamaru Usman like that. Even Masvidal in full camp, Kamaru is still going to clinch. He's still going to take him down, and if he feel like Masvidal is more dangerous, he will clinch even more and make it more boring. So he had that ability. So
what do you think is next for the winner and the loser of the welterweight division?
Well, for Kamaru, they are talking about Gilbert Burns against Leon Edwards. If Leon Edwards is not fighting, I think Gilbert should be the next one. When it comes to Masvidal, man, I don't know. I think that there's a lot of money fights to make.
There's two great welterweight options, in my opinion.
Okay.
There's already the history with Colby Covington. That thing sells itself.
Okay? Exactly. Money fights.
Great backstory. I mean, and obviously them being so close friends, they know each other very well, both of them.
Yeah.
3-piece in a soda. Okay.
Exactly.
Him versus Leon Edwards would be fucking amazing. Think of the balls it would take for Jorge Masvidal to take that fight, say somewhere like in England too, if they didn't want to do it right away.
Dana been saying that Gilbert is the natural number one contender and he should be fighting against Usman next. And I think that we all agree that. Do you prefer to see like let's say Leon Edwards is there? Do you think you prefer to see a Leon Edwards against Masvidal or a Leon Edwards against Gilbert Burns and the winner of that fighting against Usman?
I would rather see Gilbert Burns versus Usman next with no having to fight nobody. And I would love to see either Masvidal versus Covington or Masvidal versus Leon Edwards.
Masvidal against Covington, like it's a money fight, and it's a fight that makes sense. I feel like a McGregor, because everybody is going to talk about McGregor. A McGregor fight is just a money fight. It doesn't really make sense.
It doesn't make, especially when you look at his trajectory and wanting to get back to that welterweight. He said, "Let me win a couple fights and I'll see you again," to Kamaru at the end of the fight.
Against Colby, man, it will be amazing.
All he has to, if he beats Leon Edwards or he beats Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman will just need that victory and he will be right there, the number one contender. He will fight the winner of Usman and Burns. It's that simple.
Imagine a rematch between the two of them, full crowd, sold out arena. That would be amazing.
Sure, hell yeah, it'd be. I mean, the rematch between the two of them, I think you have to understand now. Masvidal knows what's coming. Masvidal knows what it feels like to have Kamaru Usman with him. So maybe some of the guys he brought in, he might switch out for some bigger guys or some other guys who use that more pressure. You understand that Kamaru isn't shooting blast doubles on you. Yeah. He is a slow, methodical. He grabs you, pulls a single leg in, drags you down. He's not shooting blast doubles on you. So you got to find the perfect training partners to get used to that situation and grinding like that for 25 minutes. Obviously, as you've seen, Kamaru Usman is willing and able to grind for those 25 minutes. Yeah. I haven't seen anyone be able to match what he's been able to put out.
Okay, I agree with you. You know what? But, for me, it's starting to bother me. Because I don't know. No.
Listen, a win's a win.
I'm a huge fan, and I like Usman, and I also am a big fan of Khabib. But in one way, I don't want to see them lose because I like the fact that they are invincible and they deserve to be invincible. In other way, I just want to know, what does it take? Like, it's really bothering me because I feel like, what will it take for them to lose? And I don't want them to lose because of an injury or because of a stupid mistake during the fight, No, I want if they lose, I want it to be a clear loss. I don't see it happening.
Like I said before, I don't see there being a man alive right now that beats Khabib Nurmagomedov outside of a man named George St. Pierre. I don't think he's ever going to fight Kamaru Usman, so that's out of the question.
Why not? I would like to see a catchweight fight between.
I just don't think it happens. Do you think Kamaru is even able to get past 170 or below 170? I don't think you got to understand. Kamaru Usman probably walks around at 205.
Well, Khabib can move up easily.
Yeah, but Khabib's been able to move up his entire career and has never taken one fight at 170 at the UFC.
I agree with you, but I think that maybe not right now. But come on, at least for once.
I think if he moves up to 170 pounds for anybody, it's George St. Pierre, and that's because it's Abdullah's wish.
Okay, yeah. In that way, I agree with you.
But like I said to you before, man, I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Khabib Nurmagomedov ever again.
Yeah. They actually, I think it was DC. He was saying that he's training very hard right now, but they don't know what's next for him. Like, I think that, like DC said, he's training to keep himself busy some sort of way, which is, I think, very healthy. That's what you need to do.
Makes sense.
What you need to do. Yeah, because it's very hard for him. But I don't know, man. I don't know. But it's a problem. Those type of fighters, and it's a problem.
Just dominant fighters.
Dominant.
Anyways, anything else? UFC 251.
I think that there was some hype for this card because of the main event, because of the whole events. It was it was a pretty good card. I think it wasn't that the amazing night that we all wanted to see, but it was a big night in the MMA world.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't like an all-time great.
Yeah.
It was a good card though. Very solid.
Good. Very good.
Good performances. Jerry Prokopov, huge victory. Can't wait to see what he's able to do in that light heavyweight division. And let me tell you what, we gotta see Rose and Jessica Andrade one more time. And whatever you do, make it a main event somewhere. Make sure it's 5 rounds because these two women deserve to go 5 rounds. And I would love to see that fight one more time.
If Rose gets the belt, she can call out Jessica Andrade for a third fight. That would be amazing.
Yes, for sure. That would be an interesting situation. I bet you she don't take it in Brazil. But hey, listen, guys, we're going to be right back with you because we have fights on Wednesday. So me and Waleed are going to pump out another episode in a second here. Bear with us. Stay tuned. As always, you knuckleheads.
Peace.